Everyone, just to ensure you guys are in the right place, our sharings about our crowd strategies for MyInfo, right? Okay, a little bit introductions of myself. I'm Chee Siang. You can call me CS. If you find Chee Siang is a bit difficult to pronounce, right? I'm the technical lead of MyInfo API families, and I'm in GovTech about 5.5 years right now. And so I like to play basketball. Yeah, so I like the teamwork and collaborations in playing the games. I'm a new dad. I have a newborn, which is about 100 days right now, and he's super cute when he's not crying, right? Okay, and I'm an avid traveler. I like to travel around the world, but I think I have to stop this hobby for a while. And always curious about how things work. Right? My dad knows the best because I always spoil his stuff when I was young and kena rotan. Okay, so before I start to talk about the crowd strategies of MyInfo, right, can I get a sensing here? Does anyone here have not heard of MyInfo or never used a MyInfo service before? Can you guys raise your hand? Oh, really? Only 2? Oh, that's good. Okay, looks like the team and we are doing a good job for making MyInfo well known. Okay, sorry about that. Okay. I think I also asked ChatGPT for that. So coincidentally, I'm doing the same thing as what Steven do, right? Okay. So nowadays, ChatGPT has been so popular. A lot of people asking for different questions, right? I also asked ChatGPT for my work, for example, writing a recursive function for me yesterday, so I can go and make a coffee. But it's okay, too many words, right? Okay, as a developer, I understand. We don't like to see too many words. We are so busy. That's why we use MyInfo, right? Or as a gentleman, when we buy new electrical appliance, the first thing we open up, we see the instruction manual. This tick, what we usually do, we throw away, don't need. So let me show you a 1-minute video of what is MyInfo in real quick.
Transform your business with MyInfo from Singpass API today. Meet Stanley. He's on track to become a new customer of yours. But right now, he's filling up an application form with a gazillion pages. And not too much time on his hands. As well as details that are a little hard to remember. Luckily, there's MyInfo, a digital service from Singpass. It allows your customers to instantly provide personal information from government sources for speedy and secure form filling with fewer documents needed. Using data from authoritative sources, you can make approvals right away, reducing the time needed for applications. Visit api.singpass.gov.sg to find out more.
Okay, so in short, MyInfo is a digital service that helps our citizens to share data to private sector or other government agency to simplify the online transactions, okay? So, by the way, if you think I'm
Transform your business with MyInfo from Singpass API today.
So, by the way, if you think I'm talking a little bit too fast because I got so many things to share with you, right? Please raise your hand to slow me down, okay? Okay, I also want to share a little bit of our crowd journey before I jump into the crowd strategies to let you guys know what we're trying to do. So, MyInfo, we launched it on 2016. Okay, ChatGPT know that. Interestingly, he know better than me. And 2017, we opened it up for private sector, and a year later, we moved to crowd. And today, we are running on version 4 right now, which we just officially launched it 2 weeks ago, which few security enhancements and also more data item. Right, this is just a very subset that we offer. If you want to know more, you can, at the end of the presentation, I will share a link with you. You can go and have a look on our portal. Right. Okay. So, MyInfo, we have about 5 years of experience in running applications on cloud. I think we are one of the few services who are running on cloud and fully serverless at that time. And when we moved to cloud, right, on 2018, is it everything just went smooth, went well as what we thought? And is it time to celebrate? Actually, no. We just started to get our first problem. If I can recall correctly, it's the Lambda cold start problem. So Then we have to, so back then, Lambda have some serious cold start problems, at least to us, 1 to 2 seconds, which affects our latency significantly. So we have to try different way to solve it at that time. So we have to change a little bit of our code structure to initialize the SDK and database connections outside the function header so our Lambda can be reused. And then afterwards, the layers come out, we have to package our dependency at the layer and also enable the provisions Lambda concurrency. Okay, I understand all this might sound very simple to you guys if you heard it today. Right, all these are just a best practice that you should implement or you should do when you're doing serverless or even Lambda, right? So, but we are actually encounter all these problems like 5 years ago. So back then, there's not much documentations or best practice who are guiding us on how to do it. So we have to like try a different way, like raise ticket to AWS or get some solution online, then try it and encounter all these problems. So not this problem, we also encounter other problems like timeout problem, intermittent timeout for our Lambda or our Lambda when connecting to other services. Then we have to implement X-ray, we have to implement a retry mechanism, right? We encounter a lot of other problems. So it's not like perfect as what we think when we move to cloud. So sometimes we will be questioning ourselves. What are we doing this? Why are we doing this? And should we change our architecture designs to EC2, to container? Back then we don't have Fargate yet, to containers, okay? Then should we perhaps move back to on-prems, back to something we are familiar with, right? But very important, we ask ourselves, what is our cloud strategies? And what is our goal, right? So our cloud strategies is important. Why? Because it is to guide an organizations in adopting, in managing, in utilizing cloud technologies, cloud resources to improve operations, increase efficiency, reduce costs, and also to drive innovations, right? So for MyInfo, we define 5 key components in our cloud strategies. The first one, goal, the objective. What you want to achieve using your cloud technologies. For us, we want to increase agility, we want to reduce operation overhead. We want our developers to focus on writing and deploying codes without worry of managing underlying infrastructure. Reduce the needs of doing server maintenance, OS patching, etc., right? All the infra-related tasks. Therefore, we take serverless as one of the options, right? So, second, the plans, the cloud adoptions. Choosing the right tech stacks for your teams and for your organizations. For example, deploying code using Terraform IAC, deploying infra using Terraform IAC, deploying codes using serverless frameworks or AWS SAMs, right? Defines your deployment strategies and also develops your migration plans if you're moving from on-prems, okay? Third one, very important for us, risk. The security control for your infra, for your applications, your compliance, your governance, management, for role, responsibility, processes. And also, a lot of people keen to forget about this. The risk if your application is down, right? Your SLA, your RTO, your RPO. Then the cost, okay? So, although sometimes it's very difficult to make a direct comparisons between running applications on cloud versus on-prem, because there are too many variables to be considered, right? But generally, I agree, all of us here believe running applications on-prems can be more expensive because you have to purchase, you have to manage the physical hardware, right? And then I even heard some people say, running on serverless can save you another 40%. So, but is all these statements correct, 100% true? Not exactly, right? It depends on your understandings on the cloud technologies, cloud services that you use, and how you configure it. Okay, my personal experience. Okay, when AWS announced Lambda provision concurrency, I think during one of the re:Invents which I attended, which is 2019, I was so excited. I was super excited because it can solve my cold start problem. Right? I quickly enabled it for all my Lambdas. Then after a few days, you guys know what happened? I get a surprise shock in my build, which I don't know how to explain to my management, right? So for those who are not familiar with Lambda provision concurrency, It is a feature that we can enable. It will auto spin up our Lambda. It will keep it running and keep it warm. But of course, we have to pay for the compute power. But back then, I'm still very junior. I didn't do my due diligence enough to calculate, to understand for the cost. So this is what I learned for it. Every time I want to introduce new service to my solutions, I better check for the price, right? And also, improve. After all this, right, we have to establish ongoing process to evaluate, to monitor, to improve our crowd strategies. We have to review it frequently to make sure it's still met with our goal. Okay, then the next question, a lot of people might have concerns, right? Especially it's the first time when they're here. Wow, MyInfo is running application on cloud, and the data, how is MyInfo going to protect it? What is my data leaked to dark web? What happened? Right, so MyInfo, as the data custodians of our citizen data, we treat security very, very seriously, right? It is the utmost important key component in our cloud strategies, and it is something that we cannot compromise or we cannot sacrifice. So let's focus on risk today. There are two types of risks that I'll be going through with you today: infra risk and application risk. So let's talk about infra risk first, right? Since MyInfo, we are running on fully serverless. How can we control the network? How can we limit the access control? How can we ensure we have the proper isolation control for all our microservices? So this is, okay, don't be afraid. This is just an abstract of our multi-tier serverless architecture that we are using today. Of course, there are more behind, but I think it's okay. Then for network control, right, our Lambda are confined in VPC to control networks. Then is further confined in private subnets to prevent direct internet access. Security groups to control traffic to and from Lambda. And when Lambda connect to other services is secured using VPC endpoint, which keep the traffic within the VPC. Outgoing call are controlled and URL whitelisting, right? Then we have API Gateway Authorizer to enforce OAuth 2.1 for our authentications and authorizations. I'll be focusing on this one later for the application part. And then our Lambda is further restricts on which Lambda or which services it can invoke using the resource pay policy, which practice the principle of least privilege. Last one. So each Lambdas are run in the dedicated sandbox, which managed by firecrackers, to ensure strong isolations and to ensure it's only accessible by our account. Okay, but after all this, by just protecting infra is not enough. We have to think about how to protect and secure our API. Okay, so to do a recap for MyInfo, we are using OAuth 2.1 and it consists of 3 API: authorize, token, and person. Okay, please bear with me because I'm going to increase my pace for the following slide a little bit faster. Although I really want to share all the details with you of our security mechanism and how we implement it and the thinking behind, but it will take me about 1 hour for you guys to fully understand, right? So because it also take me a few days to read out all the RFC and implement it. So it's quite tedious, okay. So first one, Pkce. We have Pkce is to prevent CSRF and off-code injections. So basically it's to protect our authorized call and token call. By how? When a user use his browser and try to connect with our partner application, like for example, I want to apply a credit card from the banks, there's a sessions will be established between these two. The partner application will first need to create a code verifier and then to further create a code challenge. The browser will take the code challenge to call the authorized API to ask for off-code. So once you have the off-code, the partner application will use the code verifier with the off-code to call the token API. Okay, this sounds simple, but what if, right? I have an attacker here, I have a bad guy, right? I try to intercept the traffic, I try to steal your off-code, right? Then I try to spoof my partners, the application, the bank, try to call the token API. Will it work? Not actually, not because the attacker, the sections established between the attacker browser is different from the user browser. Therefore, when the partner application try to call the token API, it will use the wrong code verifier. There, our authorization server will reject the call. Next one. This is a more simple one for info. The next one will be more complex. Okay, client assertions, right? So client assertions is a JWT that produced by our partner, our banks, to prove his identity. Okay, a scenario, if an attacker managed to steal the off-code just now, right, and use the stolen off-code to try to talk to my API directly. So just now he's pretending he's the user who owned the off-code and tried to call the banks, our partner, but now he knows this is not going to work. So he tried to call my API pretending he's one of my partner. So in this case, my authorization server, when I receive the token request, I will try to reach out to my partner's JWKS URL to ask for the key and to verify the token request. This partner JWKS URL, right, is provided during onboarding process, so I know where I should go to reach out to a URL and get the key to check for signature. So by doing this, my authorization server will know, oh, there's someone who is trying to do a funny thing, I'm going to reject this API call. Okay, now we are in the most complex one. DPOT stands for Demonstration Proof of Possessions. So it's a mechanism to tie an access token to the client. Right, because just now when you see, when an attacker trying to call the token API is managed by the authorization server, right, of Z server. But now, how do I know? Is someone trying to call my resource server? How do I know this is a legit partner or legit user, right? So for this route, first, the partner will first need to create an environment key pair, one-time key pair. To use the key pair to generate something we call default proof, which is signed, then to use it to call token API to ask for access token. Later on, he will need to use back the same environment key pair to call the default proof. To generate the default proof for person API to ask for the actual data. So what if I have an attacker here managed to steal the access token? Although unlikely, but just what if, because my security team always like to ask me this kind of question, what if? So I have to think on how to explain, right? Close all the loophole. So what if an attacker managed to steal the off-code, then try to call my resource API directly? How can I prevent it? Will it work? No, because the attacker will not have the environment key pair that our partner generated or created at initial. So the default proof that he created for the person API will not be correct. And my resource server will know when he's validating the request, and I will reject the request. Right? Of course, this is the very high level and scenario based. Behind it, we have a lot more control and scenario, which if you really want to know more, you can go to visit our website to have a look, or you can find me, I can explain to you later, 1 hour, okay? Okay. Okay, this one. Not to bring on your pen, okay. So I think most of us still remember at one time when we need to take out our phone to scan a QR printed in the poster in order to enter a shopping mall, or restaurants, or a building, for example. But not many people know that actually self-entry QR is developed by part of my teams in just less than 2 weeks. So we take the first week for POC, second week we deploy to productions to support whole nations, 600K of venues with average TPS of 350. And you know what's the maximum TPS can go? It can go almost double, 600 TPS during the dinner time. And the response time is actually very fast, 300 milliseconds, and most important, 0 downtime. From the day we deploy it to productions until we officially decom. So happy. Officially decom it last month. Actually, we are really very happy. So when we start to design and develop self-entry, I would say luckily we are using the correct tech stack as serverless as our base, because we didn't know that one day government is going to mandate everyone to do check-ins. We didn't know our TPS is going to boost up to 600 TPS. Because in my whole career, I never participate to design a system, application, or API that need to support 600 TPS, which it could kill my database, it could kill my API gateway, right? So, and when we be informed by our management about decisions, right, say, hey, I'm going to ask everyone to use your system. Please make sure you can support. I don't think I have a say to tell him, okay, sorry, can you give me 1 month? I need to revamp it to support this use case. I don't think, I'll just be fired immediately, I would think, right? So, thanks a lot. We are using serverless since day one. And we take this national crisis, this opportunity. Please allow me to say opportunity, because crisis in Chinese we call 危机. 危 means danger, 机 is opportunity. So we take this golden opportunity, this danger opportunity, to prove that we actually have a good serverless design, we have a good crowd strategies, or maybe OKR strategies, because we have to keep on improve, and also a winning tech stack that we can make reference or even replicate to other systems if we need to implement or revamp a system in future. Okay, I think we have time. Okay, before I ask for Q&A, okay, so I have my LinkedIn here. You want to connect me, feel free. And if you want to know more about our APIs and the data item that available that we offer might help to boost your business, you can scan here. Yeah. Okay, so I think we can open for Q&A. So anyone have any questions that want to know from us? Yes, please.
Do you have any criteria for the client to get the key pair?
Sorry?
No, do you have any criteria for the client to get the key pair?
Yes. Okay, so the question is, do we have any criteria for our partner to get the key pair? Okay, first, we are not using key pair. We are using client assertion plus deport just now that I mentioned. Okay, criteria is you need to be a business that registered in Singapore. Then you need to go to our portal. You need to submit a link up request with us. So basically saying, hey, I have a business. This is my use case. I want to request your, for example, name, address, contact number from MyInfo API. Right, then our business owner will basically review, or it will be auto provisions an account for you. And also, you need to provide your GWS URL, etc. Right, and your purpose of implementing with us. Yeah, am I answering your questions? Sorry, again.
If it is a bank, their servers will be located in multiple locations. So do you have any criteria that application should be hosted in Singapore or anywhere in the world? It's fine.
Okay, so your question would be that, let's say for a bank, he might have their application hosted in different country. So to answer your questions, the bank have to comply with PDPA rules. I think they have to host our citizen data within Singapore. Right. So, and especially for those applications who are integrated with MyInfo, right, I think they are mostly serve our citizens or our residents in Singapore. So, mainly they will put all these information, all this data inside Singapore. They have to comply with the PDPA rules. Yes.
You're saying like you're fully on Lambda.
Yes.
Like, how have you designed your Lambda? I mean, there must be like a lot of services in the backend, right? Like how you have designed your like domains of those different Lambdas.
Okay. So you are saying, so your question would be, I might have a lot of Lambda to happen to. Okay, so we have okay, primarily we have 3 Lambda you can see just now: authorized, token, and person. But we have a few Lambda to do all these verifications. Like for example, just now you see the OAuth 2.1, right? So we have all these Lambda. We call it security Lambda that we put on the authorizer. So how am I going to design this? Is we are basically, when we try to come up with a Lambda, we will have the principle like, can I reuse certain part of the thing? If yes, I will try to pull this thing out from the main Lambda. Then I can be reused and package all my Lambda become a piece that can be reusable and be small. Yeah.
Which language do you use for? Like, there are different languages or?
No, we are using Node.js. Am I correct? Okay. Any more? What time is my session? Yes. Yes. Good questions. Okay, so is MyInfo enforce our partner to host our GWS URL? Okay, maybe I want to give you a little bit background. So in V3, actually we do not enforce or do not ask our partners to host or even provide any GWS URL. It's something like well-known URL, right? But we encounter a lot of operation issue. Like for example, so in V3, our partner have to provide their certificates to us. Then we have issue when, for example, MyInfo, we are doing cert rotations, or our partner are doing cert rotations. Even though we are very smooth on staging, but somehow, shit will happen, something will happen, right? So it will affect our partner's project environment, Murphy's Law, right? It could also affect MyInfo as well, because when citizen trying to apply the credit cards, for example, in bank, go and access it, click apply for MyInfo, then, cannot access down. The citizen will have thinking that MyInfo having some problem. So for operation-wise and for scalability-wise, so we try to understand how the induction is going to work, and then we propose GWS URL. But don't worry, because in our design, I'm not going to call your GWS every time. I'm going to call you for first time, I'm going to cache it for 1 hour. Okay? And this well-known is being used by a lot others standard, not just OAuth 2.1. Okay. Yes?
Not a question, but
no worries.
just want to say thanks for MyInfo API. Like whenever I talk to my friend across the globe, I can like proudly say that I don't have to fill any like manual forms.
Okay.
And I have to like apply for credit cards and all. So yeah.
Thanks. Okay, if you happen to have any more questions, then maybe after this, then you can find me, then we can explain to you. Okay, thank you.